Welcome to the Play Cousins podcast, a dose of healthy conversations with your Play Cousins. A dose of healthy conversations with your Play Cousins. Welcome to the Play Cousins podcast.
Hey, and welcome to conversation 1 of Play Cousins podcast. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Kilbs. Hey, Jeff.
Hi. How y'all doing?
Oh, I am Kilbs. I am your Play Cousin, and today I have with me TDot and Jasmine. Y'all want to introduce yourselves?
Hey, y'all. I'll go first. I am your problematic fave cousin. Okay, so let me just get into a little bit of background about me. I've had a podcast before. I'm currently on a show with Raheem Brazil called The Platform Speaks. We should be starting it up in June. I'm a blogger, content creator. I have a regular job. We ain't gonna talk about that because whatever. But yeah, I just do a lot of content stuff. So I'm here excited and happy to be a part of Play Cousin Podcast because this is about to be dope.
Agreed. Well, I'm TDot. I, unlike Jasmine, just have my little 9 to 5 that I do. I don't do anything else. I'm not a content creator, so this is different for me, but I am excited about being on the Play Cousin Podcast to show different perspectives about things.
Hey.
Kilbs.
Thank you. So, yes, I am Kilbs. I am a serial, socialite, entrepreneur, and got a 9 to 5. I dip and dabble in about everything. So I think that I could bring, some multi-dimensional perspective. And this whole conversation and platform is just to have mind-altering, healthy conversations amongst people. Everybody's not going to agree on everything. We all see different things differently. And also just to kind of be a support system. And just talking about support, I don't know if y'all saw Happy Wade. Like, this is the level of support that people would need. So let's get into that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning. I need to wash my car.
Me too.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God, Bobcat! Oh my God! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get your feet! Get up! Let me! Watch it! Down! Oh shoot! Get up!
Oh my gosh.
Y'all.
Oh,
Husband of the year goes to Happy Wade because I've done been pushed over for a water bug. Like, listen, poor Tim. He
A
just launched
bobcat.
in there. Bobcat.
He
And then
didn't
he
say-
hurled it.
yes. the way he threw that bobcat.
In Atlanta. He yeeted it.
Yo, listen, like the way he jumped in and supported his wife is just like, I think all women are deserving, and men too, if you have a husband, like, are deserving of that type of support. That kind of makes me think about this video of a young girl who was, I don't even know why I'm laughing at this, but a young girl who was getting attacked by a dog, where a dog had gotten loose, and her father jumped on top of the car and left her to run around getting chased by a dog. And I mean, everybody was like, your kid is on the ground getting chased by some feral dog. And you're on the top of the car trying to direct her to do the same thing that your coward self has done. And everybody was like,
and it's your child.
Right, this is your kid. And I mean, the child was like, had to be less than 9. So, you know, obviously, get your kid. Like, you could be the last person to get up on top of the car. He did not come down off that car, too, by the way. And this man picked up a whole bobcat and
hurled it.
Yes.
Jumped into action. It was no thinking. It was no hesitation. It was like, my wife is in danger.
Yeah.
I'm going for. He got bit, and the cat had rabies.
Well, so he got shots too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's support. When we talk about support on here, when we say have a support system, that is support. It's people that don't have to think about it. Like, just jump in there. Just jump in there and go forward.
Yeah.
Hurl.
Any questions? He just leaped in there, just saw what the record was about. But I just love his spirit because he first was like, good morning.
Good morning. I need to go and wash my car. But did you hear the chirp of his phone? It even sounded real happy. It was like,
yes. Like, he seems like a happy guy, but he with it if need be.
He wanted to smoke.
He did.
All the smoke. All the smoke.
My
all
God.
the smoke.
I'll get this video.
Well, to segue into support, let's talk about today's topic, which will be about masking your pain and self-medicating. And
ooh, so medicating. That's 420 right there, right?
420, yes. Happy 420, by the way.
Happy 420, guys.
420.
Speaking of medicating.
So, you know, let's kind of get into the terminology of things. So, Jasmine, you want to kind of start with like what you think self-medicating is?
Self-medicating is, first of all, for all my WebMDers out there who, I got this issue, I want to go ahead and self-medicate. I think it's just trying to telling yourself, okay, I have an issue. How can I get over this issue? And for most people, it's taking some type of drug, a mind-altering substance that can temporarily relieve them from whatever issues that they're having, which, I mean, for me, I know that that's an issue. I just actually had a conversation with a friend who said that she was seeing a psychologist and she was taking like some kind of, she was taking whatever, but she was taking pills. And I was like, well, do you really think that that's the right way to go? And she was just like, you know, like my grandmother passed. And I said, listen, I understand that too. Like, but, and I didn't say this to her, but I was just kind of like, how are you going to deal with the grief for real? Like, how are you going to really deal with the grief if you are taking pills to cover up those issues when the pills wear off, the grief is still going to be there. So why are you why are you medicating? Well, that was kind of different from self-medicating or whatever. But like, I guess the issue was like, why are you medicating something that's always going to be there instead of actually dealing with it? So that kind of goes into like self-medicating in the way that people like smoke weed or drink alcohol or do meth when they feel like, because they don't have any teeth, but when they feel like something's going wrong in their lives. I guess that was just a long way of explaining that.
Gotcha. What you think, TDot?
I agree. Like, it's an issue, and instead of like going to someone else to help you, like your friend Jasmine who went to the psychologist, like you just trying to figure out how to do that yourself. And so
right.
Subconsciously, sometimes it's consciously. But like, you can do, like Jasmine said, like through alcohol, through drugs, through sex, through buying stuff online, Amazon and stuff. Like, that's also a problem. You get sad and they already got the credit card information, so you go do, and you keep getting packages and you get this dose of euphoria, but it's not helping with your real problems.
Exactly.
So that's what I think the self-medicating is.
Yeah. Food too. Food is a big thing sometimes.
Food.
Like, everybody's like, "Oh, you feeling bad today? You get an ice cream." Like your parents started that long time ago. They start
Yeah.
substituting like you processing your feelings with like things.
I
And so
definitely
it
do
doesn't
that.
matter what things they are.
If I
Is
get
that
sad,
a
I will
bad
eat some
thing
ice
or is it
cream.
a good thing? Like, what's up?
Say that one more time.
You think it's a good thing or a bad thing to like self-medicate with stuff?
It's a bad thing because you're not really dealing with what the issue is. Like, I think we all do it to a certain extent, but like it's like it cannot be good to just be like, okay, well, I'm feeling bad because I messed up on a test, so let me just go and get a whole ass sheet cake. You know what I mean? Like that's not really in the long run going to help you out. Like I actually wrote this article on the blog that I write for, I Hear That Girl, about like toxic self-care and how it's heavy on the self and like no long-term sustainability on the care, right?
Yeah.
And how we talk ourselves into things to say, oh yeah, I'm caring for myself. I'm gonna eat this sheet cake or I'm gonna drink this whole bottle of wine. And like, okay, so then in the long term, you keep doing that. You have liver issues, gaining weight. And like weight is food. My relationship with food is something that I'm trying to work through too, because I learned like I started self-medicating with food when I was feeling bad or, oh girl, you had a salad 2 days ago. Let's go ahead and get this creme brulee. Things like that, and I know some people deal with sex in that way or whatever, medicating themselves from, oh, I'm not going to, especially with millennials and how we just like no communication or whatever. It's just like, well, let me just give my body to somebody because like, I'm not going to have anything else of substance with another human. So I may as well just start to say something else. F the S out of you. But like, because that's the only way. But yeah.
That kind of goes to like triggers. So like, what are triggers? Like, and how do you identify them? Like, do you have like a utopia moment? Like, oh, this is what's my problem, or it's like subtle. Like, let's just kind of dive into that.
For like triggers, I think you have to identify that there is a problem before you even know that it's a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Some people out here don't really want to say they have a problem, and then you don't identify the actual trigger of it all. So even like I guess when people get sad, they can do things that are considered healthy, like going to work out. But if you work out too long and too much, you could
Exactly.
your body. And so if you don't work on that trigger, I mean that the actual problem, can't figure out what the trigger is.
That's true.
That is true. Yeah, I know for me, it was one time where I was like, I'm gonna miss something. I'm gonna miss something. So the fear of missing out, FOMO. It's like you constantly doing stuff and then you burn out and then you on pass out on the floor and you
Yeah.
wake up in the hospital like, and so it's kind of like I don't know why I was fearing missing out, but I was just doing it. But then I had to kind of like recalibrate once it got to like the dead end where it was nothing else left for you to like spray yourself in. So what's some triggers for you, Jasmine, or something that you could
A trigger for me. I don't like. Some of my triggers exist like with. I don't like people talk to me crazy. I would say that. I would say that's a huge trigger for me because I didn't grow up like being talked to crazy. Like y'all remember when the whole thing happened with what's his name? The gospel singer. What's that man's name?
Kurt Franklin?
Kurt Franklin. Yeah,
Okay.
Kurt Franklin with him and his son. Like I won't say I was necessarily triggered by that, but I guess sometimes I don't understand how people can. I guess the way I was thinking about it was, how can y'all think that this is okay for children and parents to communicate with each other in that way? And I guess for me, I was just like, I wasn't talked to crazy growing up. So like my mama literally didn't even curse at us. And that was because they were cussing. My mom and my dad were cursing around us when we were younger, and we started cursing. So they stopped cursing to avoid us having those, reckless words or whatever. But I grew up. My dad died when I was a kid, but I grew up with a mom who did not talk to us crazy. So now when I hear people talking to me aggressively, like for me, I'm just like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I'm going to stop you right there because I can, and I've told for this before, I can promise you if you keep talking to me like that, it's not going to turn out the way you thought. Like, that's, I guess it's triggering me because I'm like, who are y'all talking to? Like, why are you talking to me in this way? I don't like raised aggressive tones, I guess. That's a trigger for me.
Yeah, I almost fought my grandma and my mama because both of them had called me the B word. Like, that's definitely a trigger. Like the B word, and it's not like the friendly B word. Like, oh, bitch. Like, it's not that. It's like you. Yeah, I
You little
can't.
bitch.
It's a neck.
It's literally blackout, like straight blackout. And it's been like that for the longest, like early teens. Like it wasn't like an adult thing. It was like that's like equivalent to spitting on me.
Agreed. It is abusive. And it's a verbal assault, if you will. Like it's just like, why are we choosing those words as a way to interact with people, especially the humans that we are bringing into this world? And then I think that causes sometimes like for us to be triggered or for us to keep on talking to other people in that way, causing issues and fights and stuff like that. So I don't know.
That's cyclical then, like if you started, somebody else called them the B word, they think it's okay. They go to another generation or somewhere else. Word, then this like a whole mass of society just being angry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The B word.
Yeah. I'm definitely triggered in this dating space, but that's gonna be another show. So because that is way too much to talk about right now. I have some stories for you.
So what happens like when you tell people like, well, you shouldn't let people control your emotions? Like what you do in those situations? Like those like certain things, like the B word triggers me. Someone being disrespectful triggers me. And so you wanna like how do you combat that?
Is this someone controlling your emotions or you just saying I guess it is the reaction that you give because if you are, I guess, vibrating higher, but we're humans though. So some days some days are gonna be better than others where you're able to manage those stress or those triggers or whatever. Like some days you'll be able to be like, okay, let's have a conversation. And then other days it's like, I'm gonna beat your ass, So, but I think that's kind of human stuff too. But I guess as far as somebody else telling you shouldn't let somebody control you, I turn around to them and tell them, who the hell are you to tell me what I need to be doing? Like, I'll handle myself the way I want. Thank you.
Yeah. I once saw a psychiatrist and they was like, your way you react is basically a trigger and it's something deeper. And I'm like, they disrespect me. Like you get hit.
Right.
I ain't going out hitting people. But she was like, because it have to automatically escalate to that. And so that's where I kind of learned levels. Like, so it's not automatic. It used to be automatic. Like, I'm gonna jump on you like a spider monkey off rip. Like it's just I'm jumping. But then now I learned after that I was angry about stuff. Well, I was angry about disrespect. I saw a disrespectful situation in my household. So it was like nobody gonna treat me like that. So if anybody treat me like that, I'm shut it down,
Yeah.
And so it kind of became I had to learn that I was angry about other stuff, and so I was taking it out on anything that was disrespectful. So
Yeah, I think like learning rules or implementing rules, boundaries, and limitations and denying people access to you when they violate you is a good way of managing that. Like I tell people, I tell people all the time, like I just fell out with a friend earlier this year and I was just like, the thing is, you cannot talk to me that way. You cannot treat me like that. And because you don't want to change, then you can no longer have access to me. And she tried to talk to me like 2 more times after that. And I was like, here's the thing. You literally said you are not sorry for what you've done. So you made your decision, and now I'm making mine off of your effed up decision. So I do think developing like hardcore, like it's a line drawn in the sand, and you're not willing to move that for people and telling people what you are saying is offensive to my sensibilities. And because of that, I don't want to be around you and your nasty ass attitude. So leave me alone.
And that's fair. That's definitely fair.
Yes. Twanda, has it been like any? I know sometimes we have like commemorations of like death or like some events happen, and like you start feeling like that's a trigger for you. So like what would you recommend like for in those type of environments, or like how do you kind of work through it?
Are you speaking because of like grief?
Yes.
Okay. My mom did. She passed away last year in September. So my dad passed away in 2011. I had a lot of grief in my life, a lot. So a lot of family members and good friends have passed away. You just gotta go through the grief. You can't like just try to push it away. Like it happened. You need to cry for this person. Like grief. Like I think Lauren London said at Nipsey Hussle's funeral, like grief is the last thing you can do to show somebody you love them. Like that's you love them and you cry for them because that was who you loved. And so finding ways to like honor them and do whatever they like. Like I know my dad and my mom, they like going on vacations. I still go on vacations to honor them. Like it's just things to do that show, you didn't get here by yourself. You came and were taught and socialized by people. So honoring them that kind of way and not trying to stop the triggers because I think that just didn't allow you to process the grief.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Like I know once my dad asked me to go get him a treat from Dairy Queen. I'm from East Point, so everybody in East Point is one Dairy Queen. So I used to go get him a treat. And I went to Dairy Queen one day, like 5 years after he passed away. And I was like, oh, you know what I'm gonna get? I'm gonna get a strawberry sundae. It's gonna be so great. And then I just started just in tears. Like it's just things that happen and you just gotta still process. It gets not easier, but it gets different. A new way of life.
Yeah, I think birthdays too is one thing. I know even though he used to get on my nerves while he was here, like one of my good best friends when he passed away, it is weird because it's like he would say inappropriate stuff. So like the first year, it was like I'll be like in the shower and I'll think of something he said, and I'm like, why? Like why is this happening now? But it is linked to like him always saying like inappropriate, off the wall stuff. And so it's just kind of like I'm still here in the back of your mind, like that thing. So it's weird triggers, anything that's so let's kind of jump into like bad and like the bad and good. Like I know you had said earlier talking about sex, and I'm like, sex feels good, so it can't be bad. What are some good and bad? Like,
I mean, everything in moderation, said my grandmother.
so have 2 partners instead of 5.
Whatever your moderation is, to quantify anything for anybody else.
Right. I think if it's healthy, right? Because you have people who are in like poly or what they call it, ethically non-monogamous relationships and things like that. And sometimes the question can be, well, are you doing this because you felt lonely growing up and you just feel like you need people? And if you're focusing on more people, like I don't know, like does that mean that you'll never really, really be able to look at a person and love them fully because you don't have to? You know, but then the same, I guess, can be said for people in monogamy. I don't know. But
Right.
like, you know, so like, I think it depends on the particular human and how they are able to, I guess, essentially, like, what is healthy for them. Like, have they?
That is true. Because some people be like, "Oh, you masking your pain of feeling lonely by just accepting anything, or you masking your pain of, eating because it's comforting." Like it's always, I feel like it's always like up to the person's perception of what's really happening.
Exactly. Like, sometimes you just want to have sex with somebody, and you just like, I know we ain't going nowhere, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't want you for real, but I want you. Like, let's do this to shut the hell up.
As long as it is safe and healthy, like you said.
Exactly. And I don't have to have low self-esteem to do it. Like, it's just, I just want this person right now. And like, in maybe 2 months when we fizzle out and I actually find my next ex, then I won't talk to them anymore. Like, what's the big deal?
But when is it like kind of like masking pain versus like I'm in control, I'm liberated?
That's a big question.
Right. I think like what Jasmine was saying, like everybody's kind of different.
Yeah.
But you have to know yourself. Like if you have a relationship with yourself and you just real with yourself, you know something that is harmful to you. Like if I drink this one bottle of $2 Chuck, I might be a little harmful to myself.
Right.
Just take my little regular 2-drink minimum, maximum.
Minimum.
Maximum. You know, that might be the issue. Or, you know, you can have safe relations with 2 people, like
right.
Whenever, same time, not same time, whatever, if that's your thing. But if you out here just hopping,
right,
and you know it ain't healthy, you know you.
Yeah. Being able to identify the why, I think, and why you're doing something. And being like TDot said, being honest with yourself. You know yourself. You know if you're doing something because you're trying to mask some type of pain, or you know if you're doing something because you're just like, I just want to do this. And like, I'm not emotionally tied to it. I know how to have a safe distance. I know me. I don't really like this person like that. But the Dito or the box, I do want that. You know,
and I don't know if everybody really knows themselves. And
right.
So that's what I think is the issue. Like, I know when you are hurting for a reason, you may not know yourself. You may, even if you did know yourself yesterday, if you hurting today, you might not know this person. So just being in tune with yourself and
agreed.
But how did you get there though? I know myself, but it's been work. Like it's been work of like self-reflection. It's been journaling, but kind of like, how do you get there to like really know yourself? Loaded question.
It is, because it's like, I don't know, like really taking your own inventory, maybe, or just having difficult conversations with yourself too, and just being like, who the hell are you? You know, like what is it that you really want? You know, like I think that's I guess on the surface that may be some quick fixes to it, but who really knows themselves fully? Like, we're all in our 30s, right?
We are.
Right. We're in our 30s. How long did it take you to really feel comfortable with yourself? And are you comfortable?
Right. I don't know if I'm like the most comfortable with myself now.
Right.
But I also think that it's like I was and now I'm not. So it's like evolution of yourself. So that's what you said like earlier, like you always have to have check-ins because it differs. Like when I kind of gained weight, I was like, oh, okay, who is who's her? But understanding like life, things happen. I know I ain't go to the doggone gym, so accept me fully. So now I got to check in with me to learn how to accept on fully. So
yeah. What about you, Kilby? Kilbs. I'm like, I don't know, saying her whole name out there.
I think I'm pretty self-aware because one, I'm the oldest, so I have to like know what I have to do as well as other people. So I think that made me grow up a little faster as well as because I was the oldest and my mother was an entrepreneur. It was like I had to learn and adapt. And so I think those two things made me adapt better in the world, but it also required me to recalibrate often. And so I set goals for myself and I had to achieve them. I set goals for myself and had to achieve them. So it was kind of like a hamster wheel constantly of doing that, where I started to kind of put it to my life. And so, but that also on the negative side made me get overwhelmed and anxiety of developed because it was like constant, like, not am I enough? Because I knew I was enough and I could do everything I set my mind to. It was like, can I achieve everything in this hour? Like I needed more than 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Versus saying no. Enough stuff you doing, like you can't conquer everything.
I think it's interesting you called it a hamster wheel too. Because you don't get off this hamster wheel and you just
you keep going until you burn out. Every time I get sit down, it's because I burn out. It's not like
not because you want to.
Right.
Not voluntary.
Never voluntary. I'm getting better though.
Yeah.
Did we even answer your question, Kilbs?
Yeah, this is some good chatting.
Good.
It definitely is some good chatting. So kind of like to go back into a support system. So outside of just like yourself, whom else? Outside of your cousins, but who else helps?
You know what? I have two dope ass sisters where I'm just like, I'm so thankful that I have siblings. And I'm a middle child, so I get to be, I got an older sister, so I didn't have to have the responsibility of being the responsible one. And I love that. And then I have a baby sister who's pretty much like, she's like the oldest one, but we get along pretty well. I mean, we're all super close. My parents got to it and had 3 kids in 4 years. So like, we're pretty close. And so if I have an issue, those girls are my support system. Like they really are. And I know you said outside of yourself, but I want to learn, or I'm learning to like support myself on what I need to. Like, I think it's important for me to, like, I always want to look at myself and have check-ins with myself too. Yes, I talk to myself and I think that's okay. But like to really just be like, Jazz, like Jazz, did you do the right thing? Like, and not to just to not be above criticism for myself, and just to be like, okay, Jasmine, like I said before, did you do the right thing? Was that the right way to go? Or sometimes if I'd be like, well, girl, I don't care about that right now. Well, then even just being honest and being like, well, okay, well, you don't care about that, but why don't you care about that? Just really asking myself questions. But my sisters, I would have to say, they're my support system if I need something, because they celebrate and they scold me. I think that balance is pretty good.
What about you, TDot?
Well, unlike y'all, I'm the only child.
Shout out to the only children.
Talking to yourself is what I do. That was one of my first dialects I learned. Talking to myself. But so I don't have siblings to talk to that, I grew up in the house with. I do have a lot of girlfriends that I went to like college with and high school with that I'm quite close to, and they'll tell me what's up when I'm wrong and when I'm right.
Yeah.
They celebrate me, and I also have a significant other.
Hey, shout out to
Kind
the
of dope. So, and also like he tells me when I'm wrong and when I'm right too. So that's helpful because I've been right all my life. It was just me, So
Sarah, you was right. Yes. Okay.
I
Yes.
think I'm right. Yeah, you're right. So it was me, and I was spoiled by two parents. So I was pretty much right. So it's pretty cool to have a family, is what I call them, that help me in times. Kill,
Yes.
answer the question too.
Friends are definitely important. If you know me, I probably hang out with my friends and then my actual sibling. But that's also the hamster wheel because I was not adult to her, but like she was not my child, but I had to take care of her a lot. So it's like, ooh, I'm an empty nester. Uh, so friends, and then I actually counseling early on towards stuff, to talk through stuff because my parents went through a divorce when I was very young. And it was not a pretty divorce court. So, that's like a part of the process. Um, and then in school, like I went to Agnes Scott, shout out to the Scotties. Um, they actually had counseling services, so tuition is high. So I took, I took advantage of everything. And so I think the counsel, I'm pro therapy, like go to see somebody. Because sometimes, even though all of my friends are different, like it might be a perspective that you don't know about. So it helps you kind of get through the hurdle or kind of like walk through things because your friends might be cheering you on, be like, girl, yes, go bust the windows out. But
Yeah.
not totally the right thing to do. So, Jasmine, what you think about therapy?
I've actually never been to therapy, but I'm not against it. But I always say sometimes I think that I haven't gone yet because I like the balance that I have right now of having one foot firmly planted in my greatness and the other foot firmly planted in my ain't shitness. And I like the fact that I can like be balanced in that way. And I think I have it in my mind that if I go to therapy, then somebody will fix me to be a more caring, more intentional, and I don't know person. And I don't know if I want that. So I'm just like, let me do a little bit of work on my own first. And if I need to go to therapy, I might try it.
That's fair.
That is fair. What about you, TDot?
I actively go to therapy now. I started because of grief counseling when my father, my grandmother, and my ex-boyfriend all passed away in like a year or so span.
Right.
So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do this. But I went like a whole year later after all these people like passed away. And my therapist was like, you really waited a whole year. You didn't need to come earlier. But therapy for me has been helpful, but not all therapists are helpful. So I think you just have to find the person that's right for you and that kind of speaks to your spirit. And you feel okay to open up to, because sometimes you do stuff that you do and don't nobody else know you do, and you got to be comfortable with telling people. So
right.
Oh my God, that's just I'm laughing because I remember one of my family members was going to church counseling, but it was very misogynistic, and so she was like, the church counselor was trying to tell her to fix herself for her husband, and I was like, but not that she didn't do anything. It might have been like some triggers or some signs, but it was like, this is not the right person.
At all.
So everybody, not a one size fits all for therapists. You might gotta kiss a couple of frogs to find the correct therapist. Sit on a lot of couches. And you also gotta check credentials, because I feel like some people just be getting jobs and they done went to XYZ college online and got a therapy degree, like,
Yeah.
or they Jackson listening to memes. So
Right. It's really helpful to kind of like date people. You're right. Like you're dating a therapist to get to know, because sometimes like if you think differently from them, they're gonna probably figure out a way to shun you about some stuff.
Oh wow.
They don't, but if you got to be open and you don't want to feel like you got to cover up some stuff.
right.
Damn.
Because therapy costs. So anything you pay for, you don't want to pay for a yes man, but you also don't want to pay for no bull.
Right.
Right. Because it's a lot. Definitely if you're not paying, like, don't have insurance. Even if you have insurance, copay like $35. If you go weeks, that's $60. And depending on, people's lifestyles, you may not be able to afford that $60.
Right.
And I understand some people have like pay scales or like a sliding scale so people can come who cannot afford. And there are always like programs to get therapy out there, but you got to find it.
Right.
Yeah. If you don't have internet, how you going to find them?
Digital divide. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I do think it's important. So just to like kind of discuss some takeaways from this conversation, like just kind of like identifying your triggers that you do to like mask your pain, deal with stress, grief, things like that. Also, just finding a person, whether it be a friend or a counselor, preferably a counselor, therapist. Some people need psychiatrists and drugs. Some people need drugs too because we have chemical imbalances. That's the real thing, which is another topic as well. But like those are some things. But ultimately, I kind of do agree with the concept and the African proverb. It takes a village. It does take a village, and I feel like people always don't tell everything about themselves. Like I have one friend that we literally have to talk. I have to talk to like 6 different friends to get the whole story. Because she literally piecemeal tells us certain stuff. And so it does take a village to raise a child, raise an adult, just raise a human being. So
Yeah.
a little quick segue into that. So usually this little segment will be called Let's Take a Walk. However, considering Jonathan Pentland's abuse, racism, bigotry,
Right.
we're gonna call this Mimi outside. So this is what transpired, and this is what happened.
I'm happy to help you. I didn't hit you. There's a difference between
So you were the aggressor, buddy.
you're aggressive on the neighborhood.
Someone came running.
You better walk away. You walk away. You talking to my wife right now. Walk away. Walk away. Check it out. You either walk away or I'm going to carry your ass out of here. What are you going to do?
You better not touch me.
Or what? What are you going to do?
You up on me.
Let's go. Walk away.
I didn't do anything.
I'm on your territory at this point. Come on. We want to talk to you. We just want to talk. We want to understand.
That's a pull up.
So that is what I call a cousin's pull up. Cause we is sick and tired of being sick and tired. And like your grandma said, nothing better happen to you than y'all outside. So
Yeah, that's
you
the
gotta
fact
make
that's a
races
pull up.
uncomfortable. That's definitely a play, cause
It's
that
sure
is
is.
definitely how my cousins get down in Jacksonville, Florida. Like we all pull it up
Yes. And that's what
with
should have
hand
happened
clap.
too. Yeah. Like
Right.
how aggressive he was with that young man. Like he was just walking. And he just
In the neighborhood.
yeah.
Broad daylight.
In broad daylight, he just walking with shoes on,
With
baby.
shoes
Because the
on.
other ones weren't.
With shoes on.
Yeah.
Like he prepared to go outside, unlike other people.
Exactly. He prepared to go outside. And he can't even take a stroll. And then I heard the wife saying, oh, well, he got into an altercation with some girl. And he was like, she came for me. Like, I'm just walking. And the man Jonathan was so aggressive with him, pushing him, telling him, you're in the wrong neighborhood, buddy. Like, why? Because he's black and walking? Like, white people have got to be stopped. That is just, white people have got to be stopped. And with everything that's going on, there's no real fear for them to stop messing with us. They keep doing it. And it's just like, what is it going to take for them to leave us the hell alone?
Right. And I really appreciate the neighborhood because he grew up in that neighborhood. So you know how I feel like we've been in a day where, especially people that get to a certain level, it's like we live in this nice neighborhood. We're not gonna take trouble. And I'm glad that they showed up for him and showed out. Like it was like rally the troops, because it literally makes zero sense. And that's actually how like black people get together. Like let everything, like your neighbor might have stepped on your grass, your neighbor dog might have pooped in your lawn, like your neighbor's music might be too loud, but come together for a common cause of nonsense. And it was white and black people out there. So everybody was on one accord.
Yep.
And that is definitely to kind of like tie this back in into support. Like support is big. Support can get you to a lot of things. So
Absolutely.
And it's good that people decided to be on the right side of history. Because it was just, just decide to be on the right side of history, regardless of like your race or whatever. Like you saw the man and he was being harassed. Like just be on the right side of history. Pull up.
Right.
Okay. And luckily he was suspended for what he did to the young man. I mean, luckily something is taking place. Like there's a consequence for these terrible racist acting ass white people, but I think more needs to be done. Like I said, I heard he was suspended. He was suspended.
He was also arrested and booked.
He was also arrested, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 3rd degree assault and
he
was something else. It was 2 charges.
He should have been, because the young man was not pushing up on him at all. Like he was really just bullying him.
He kept calling him sir. I would have lost it. I wouldn't have sir no more. He kept calling him sir. He was respectful.
He was so respectful. It's just like, this could have been another young man that we were hashtagging his name because of some crazy ass white man who was just like, I have the right to kill you because you seem out of place in my neighborhood. And didn't even find out the boy grew up in that neighborhood. It's just like, you can't do nothing. If you're black, you're guilty. It's ridiculous.
And it was triggering. He was in his personal space. He was calling him names. He put his hands on him. Like it was, he had a lot of self-control. I don't know if he went to counseling or he got a playing grandma.
he probably just wanted to get home. You know what I'm saying? Like I think for a lot of Black men and women, it's just like, I just want to get home at the end of the day. Like, I don't really want to fuss with you. Like, I'm pretty sure we've all had situations or issues, incidences. Like, I'll never be, okay, so I'm tall and I'm big, right? So I'm very aware of how I present when I leave this world. Or when I leave my house. Leave this world. What the
Don't
hell?
leave the world.
But,
We're here.
but I'm very aware. Like, this is when the world was opening up. But I used to work in Buckhead, well, still do, but work in Buckhead. And this was like, I guess 2019 or whatever. And I'm standing at this corner bakery where I always go. And I just wanted lunch, y'all. I just wanted lunch. And so I get my little chicken sandwich and a pack of chips. And I wait, I see this white woman behind me, frantic, running around. And I'm just like, I'm minding my own melanated ass business. So I'm not worried about her or nothing. I see she running back and forth from the register. I stand a good distance back. I was socially distancing before it was a thing. So, so I'm standing all the way back. I'm just waiting. She puts all her food up on the counter. I'm standing all, like I said, all the way back, nowhere near her. Got my food like this, just waiting to be called so I can ring up my food. They can ring up my food and I can walk back to my office. So I'm just sitting there and I just hear her say, "Where's my bag of chips? Where's my bag of chips?" And she looks, and the guy at the cash register, he's like, I don't know. She looks at me and she said, "No, my God, I didn't move. Did you take my bag of chips?"
Not a bag of chips.
"Ma'am, I have not moved from this one spot." And she was like, "I see you have the bag of chips that I had." I was like, "Girl."
They made one.
Yes. I said, "Girl," and then I thought about it. I was like, "All right, Jasmine, you and Buckhead." And all of these thoughts went in my mind before I responded to her. I'm like, "You 6 feet tall, you big as hell, like you dark skinned, and girl, you wearing a head wrap." I was like, "And you in Buckhead. If the police get called down here, you know they're gonna take your ass down. So how do you want to handle this?" So I said, "Ma'am, we're not doing this racist stuff today. I have been here. I have not touched your food. Maybe you got the wrong thing." And then the guy was standing, and I always seen the guy because, like I said, I always go there. He didn't say a thing at all. He just looked at me, and I was just like, "Really, bro? Like you ain't even, like you're not even gonna step in. You saw me standing here this whole time. You're not even gonna say anything to her." And then he was just like, I can just take you here." I was like, "Here, pay for my food," and I walked the hell up out of there. And I was just like, the choices that we have to make as Black people to just continue our day. I just wanted lunch. I ain't want confrontation. And here this Karen is, well, I'm all the way back there accusing me of stealing her chips that she just didn't grab, by the way, because it was out of her. She couldn't even fathom that she made a mistake. It had to be the Black woman stole her chips.
Chips, yeah. Not purse, not money,
exactly.
not
chips anything.
Chips.
The privilege.
Yeah. Lots of air in the bag. Like you got H.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So we're gonna go into the prescription. So it's been a lot of stuff going on. Some stuff might be triggering, some takeaways of our conversation. Jasmine kind of brought up self-care. So we're gonna go with what you're gonna prescribe to our audience, well, one for yourself, but someone else, appreciate the advice too. So Jasmine, you want to start with the prescription for the week?
The prescription for the week. So this will wrap up with self-care. Do more for yourself, but not to the point where you neglect commitments or obligations, but just be about you, but not all about you. If that makes any sense.
Balance.
Right. Exactly. Balance. Because like if you have commitments, and I really want people to read this article that I've written on I Hear That Girl about self-care and how I feel like it's a little bit, I think, like I said, I think people have really gotten into this. It's inherently selfish, but it doesn't have to be. These are really for introverts, really, because they the worst. And anyway, just read the article, but be about self, but not, like I said, not so much where you renege on your commitments, things that you've already made. Like, don't be that person.
Got you. That's a good one. See that?
For me, I want to be thoughtful in my speech. I was raised in like the beauty shop, so my speech is sometimes reckless. If there is gossip, I know it, and everybody is too. So, just being more thoughtful and just thinking about stuff before I say it. It doesn't hurt people's feelings. Being just cognizant of just where I am and treating people okay and treating myself okay. So
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Tact. That's the word.
tactful.
What about you?
So mine will be to use the word no more. Taking on too much will you'll be face down somewhere. So saying no more. Actually giving myself a limit of 5, not even a limit, a minimum of 5. So I have a goal of saying no to 5 people.
Yes.
Yes. So that is my goal and prescription for the week. So anybody else that has the same issues as I, set a goal and say no.
Can I borrow some money?
4 more.
That's number one. No, number one.
I need 4 more.
You already got your first one out of the way.
Right. I'm gonna start learning other languages so I can say it.
Got Spanish down pack.
Right.
No.
No.
Right. Right. Like y'all understand that no is universal. No. I think that's good though.
Well, I enjoyed you guys, and
No, this was cool.
great
Shout out to us for the first show
conversation.
too.
It was a great show,
Yeah.
and hopefully everyone comes back to the next episode. It's not hopefully. I know y'all gonna come back because this is good content. That's what it is. So TDot, with the next episode, you want to give a little teaser, or as Jasmine says, exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah, so the next on Play Cousin Podcast, we have an episode on therapy. So we talked about therapy a lot today, and we're going to go in depth. Maybe we can answer some of your questions. So if you could hit us up on Instagram at Play Cousin Pod or Facebook at Play Cousin Pod, or if you have questions, you can go to our Gmail and send us an email at playcousinpod@gmail.com.
The link below.
The link will be below.
So if you have questions for the therapist, you can send them there. And Jasmine, we're gonna see if she can answer some of your questions to see if it's gonna change you or not.
It'll be good to talk to a therapist to see if what I'm missing out on, and because it might even be a fear there of talking to a therapist. So I think that I'm looking forward to our next show. So we'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Meet me outside.
Yes.
But not the Bobcat. Not the Bobcat.
Not the Bobcat. No.
Shout out to Happy Wade. Shout out to Happy Wade. Supportive husband. All right. Until next time.
Bye, guys.